the video I know that a lot of you have been waiting for. Mario Goodrich. I'm going to give you some insight as into why when I made the video about the best fits during the 2022 NFL Draft, why did I make Mario Goodrich an honorable mention from Clemson? Stick with me, guys. I'm going to tip you off to what told me that this is a good fit for Jonathan Gannon. What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. Hey, guys, if you're new to the channel, we just crossed over 5,900 subscribers. We're heading towards 10,000 subscribers. If you enjoyed today's content, if I can ask you to do me a huge solid here, guys, hit that subscribe button. I would love to add you to the community. Just need you to subscribe to do that. To my OG subscribers, hey, if you guys can help me by hitting that thumbs up button, smashing the like button, let's spike the algorithm and get this in front of new audience members that we can convert into our little community here. All right, y'all, today's topic. We're talking about Mario Goodrich. And this is a young man that come across my radar because of Andrew Booth Jr. Let's call a spade, guys. I went there to go watch Andrew Booth Jr. I thought Andrew Booth Jr., because of Clemson's scheme and the way that they utilize their corners, would be a really good fit for Jonathan Gannon. Well, while watching Andrew Booth Jr.'s film, Mario Goodrich started to kind of pop off a little bit to me on film. So I dug deep. And boy, did I find a lot of information out that's really unique about Mario Goodrich and kind of the fit here. Now I want to start off by saying this. I still think Mario Goodrich needs a lot of dominoes to fall in order to have any shot at all making this roster, guys. I still think it's a long shot for the 2022 season for Mario Goodrich to end up on the Philadelphia Eagles roster. But, you know what I'm saying? You can't predict the way dominoes are going to fall, and there's always a possibility here. And I do think there are some intriguing underlying things about Mario Goodrich in particular that make him a great fit here in Philadelphia. To begin with, when I first looked at him, you guys know that I made a comparison about Mario Goodrich kind of making sense in terms of Gannon's scheme because he's a zone corner. And there's some dead giveaways that kind of told me right away outside of just the film itself, but the underlying analytics about his, measurements and testing and things like that said, this guy's kind of similar to a few dudes we've had in the building before. Now I want to preface this by saying something. Physically, these are all different guys. If you want to think about it this way, you got an extra large, a large, a medium, and a small here, okay? And they all kind of fit differently. To begin with, RASUL Douglas is kind of like that extra large, all right? Give me a second, guys. I promise you this all makes sense. You go to Jalen Mills, he's kind of the large. You can make the argument that Steven Nelson is the medium, right? He fits every criteria we're going to talk about except for the height. And then you got the small, although he fits the height, he's the, he's the lightest of these guys, to be honest, in Mario Goodrich. But the underlying data tells you something about their play. I already told you, never, ever, ever trust full 40 times. They do not tell you a complete story. And I'm going to give you some really good examples right here from the jump today in this story. All right, if you looked at all these guys, so I'm talking about Jalen Mills, I'm talking about Mario Goodrich, I'm talking about Steven Nelson, and I'm talking about RASUL Douglas. If you just simply took a look at their full 40 times, you would say that RASUL Douglas and Jalen Mills are completely different stories from Steven Nelson and from Mario Goodrich. You would say, hey man, like those guys, none of these guys are super fast, but Mario Goodrich and Steven Nelson are around 4.5, and those other two guys are 4.6, 40 guys, 4.59 for RASUL Douglas, 4.61 for Jalen Mills. But the truth is in the actual breakdowns. It's in the splits, the 10-yard splits, the 20-yard splits. You have to know those split times to understand how these are comparable players. So, I want to get into, we know the physical measurements are different. They're all over 30 inches in terms of the arm reach, okay? Their arm reach, they're all over 30 inches, meaning that they meet that minimum requirement to play outside. Anything under 30 inches is a very complex story about playing outside. Saying that, RASUL Douglas has like 32 and, good gosh, it's like 32.38-inch arm reach, okay? He's by far the most rangiest of the corners here. You look at Jalen Mills, he's got over 31-inch arm reach. Steven Nelson and then Mario Goodrich had the same exact arm reach at 30.63-inch arms. All right? So certainly, when you look at the physical measurements, there's a bigger story to happen here, guys, right? Jalen Mills was like 6 foot, about the same height as looking at Mario Goodrich, but 190 pounds. RASUL Douglas was 6'2" and 200 and nearly 10 pounds, all right? Even Steven Nelson, although he's only 5'10", he was still like almost 200 pounds. He's like 195-ish. A little over 195. So, I mean, definitely physical body types different. But their style of play is similar, meaning they all like to play around the line of scrimmage. and their movement skills are similar when you break down these 40 times. So let's get into that aspect of things. The 10-yard split. Why must you know the 10-yard split? To me, there are limiting factors to playing man press if you don't have a good initial release off the line of scrimmage. In my opinion, you normally want to look for about that 1.55 marker on the 10-yard split to kind of feel trustworthy in the physical movement abilities, right? Some guys can get by just because they have long frames, so they can be a little slower off the start, and they can jam you, get their hands on you, and kind of, move you down the field a little bit. That's certainly an aspect of things, guys. I mean, obviously, there's always caveats to this stuff. But with that said, all these dudes kind of hover in that respectability range. But when you break down the 10-yard split, Jalen Mills, who ran a 4.6 140, the slowest 40 time, also had the slowest 10-yard split time, if I'm not mistaken, at a 1.58 10-yard split. Then you got RASUL Douglas, who ran a 4.59 40, who had a 1.57 10-yard split. Okay. Then you go to guys like Steven Nelson, who ran the fastest 40 time at a 4.49 40 of all these guys, who also had a 1.57 10-yard split with RASUL Douglas. Which brings us to Mario Goodrich, who had the fastest 10-yard split of all these guys, the second fastest 40 time, but still only ran a 1.56 10-yard split. But he's right on that threshold. Remember I said about a 1.55 or below, that's kind of the threshold. It means these guys with their frames and their physicality, the underlying athleticism is there to play a little man press from time to time. The other side of this thing you have to look at is your 20-yard splits. And what I was shocked to see is when you broke down the 20-yard splits, believe it or not, Jalen Mills had the best 20-yard split out of all these guys. Slowest overall 40 time, best 20-yard split time. 20-yard split tells you your ability to carry with the receiver down the field. Jalen Mills, now they're all pretty close, guys. 2.61 20-yard split. Mario Goodrich had a 2.62 20-yard split. Steven Nelson had a 2.63 20-yard split. And then RASUL Douglas had a 2.64 20-yard split. I will tell you, anything over a 2.6 you get a little concerned about. You want to identify film to make sure they are keeping up with guys down the field. And I will tell you that all four of these guys, whether it was Jalen Mills, whether it was Mario Goodrich, whether it was Steven Nelson, whether it was RASUL Douglas, there was film to make you be a little concerned coming out of college with their ability to keep down the field with people. Okay, there's no doubt about that. All these guys had that underlying concern to them. But when I looked at the underlying athleticism, right, these 10-yard split times, the 20-yard split times, the physical measurements, what the film showed me, I knew right away this guy is littler in terms of the frame, right? He's not as heavy set. He's got to put on 10, 15 pounds to get in the range with these guys. But the film and the underlying analytics told me this is the type of kind of zone corner that I felt like we've had in previous years, but we just didn't have this type of system to capitalize on their ability. And now it's here. You know what I mean? We're kind of depending upon this young man becoming that, having that ability to do that. So, the other thing I'll talk about is all these guys ran under 7-second 3-cones. 3-cone is a really good way of measuring your agility and your ability to come to balance, stay balanced with an agility drill, right? It's all about keeping under control. You got a 6.97 come out from RASUL Douglas, a 6.88 coming out from Steven Nelson, and then the best of them was a 6.86 from Jalen Mills. We don't know Mario Goodrich is. He's part of this new wave of guys to where not all these dudes are opting to run some of these drills anymore, like the 20-yard shuttle and the 3-cone. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that because that does tell you their ability to kind of shoot their hips and come up and play the ball. And there are some underlying concerns here with Mario Goodrich's ability to do that. But I don't have the data. I can't judge it. I just can say that from the film, it looks similar. I don't see anything that would tell me that like he's above a 7, and if he is above a 7, I don't see it being like a ridiculous statement above 7. So I don't know. I don't have the data, guys. I really don't have the data to say one way or the other here. All right, what did the film say about the young man? What I saw more than anything was this young man has an ability to pattern match. I want to explain this because there's two sides to looking at the way that you view a corner in a zone system, right? You have match and mirror or mirror and match. They say it both ways sometimes. It depends on who you're listening to, guys, which is your physical ability to match exactly what the receiver is doing. We're talking about physical ability to twist and turn your hips, right? Shoot your hips and get into position and to mirror what you're seeing being done. But then you have pattern matching, which is your ability to read the quarterback, your ability to read the routes, and your ability to understand your leverage and coverage and where you're supposed to be and to play that well. That second, the latter part of what I just talked about, is what I saw from Mario Goodrich's film that told me, like, hey, high-quality player. This is a guy that can play a little bit at the NFL level. Like, he's a smart guy. Like, if you watch some high-low examples on his film, you will see his ability to actually do quite well on high-low and knowing exactly where he should be and to use that frame to get up there and make it very difficult. You'll see Lance Zierlein calls this forcing quarterbacks to make touch throws. He's pretty good at doing that, guys. He plays with pretty good leverage when he does that. Now, I will say that this is a mixed bag of things when you look at Mario Goodrich. To his credit, nobody got 100 yards on him. And, he had a lockdown guy on the other side of him playing. So, clearly, he's a guy that, teams were going to try to target. No one got over 100 yards on him. Only 2 teams got 50 yards receiving over him, right? 50 or more, if you will. So, to be quite honest with you, 9 of his opponents, he held under 50 yards receiving. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, let me look and see if I have the numbers written down. Yeah. He held 9 opponents under 25 yards receiving. He held 5 opponents to exactly 0 yards receiving. He had just above 50% completion rate against him, like 51%. So, this young man actually did produce at a very high level. Like, there are some underlying athleticism concerns here. I'm about to get into that. But when you look at the raw data, okay, simply put, the young man produced. The guys weren't just catching balls all over him, right? He had 2 games, I'll tell you right from the jump, that were a little concerning to me, okay? The Louisville game was a little concerning to me because he did get beat deep on a play there to where I felt like he didn't understand how to get his body positioning right. That was concerning to me. And Wake kind of highlighted his inability sometimes to shoot his hips and come up and break up easy plays. And that kind of gets into where Lance Zierlein and some other scouts were talking about this young man, which is, he's kind of a shallow zone corner guy, what they call a cover 2. When you play a cover 2 corner, when you type in that type of system, you got to have the ability and the willingness to come up and tackle, which he has that part down. I would say to a fault. Sometimes he's playing more so for the tackle than he is to play the ball in the air. And I think that's what a lot of people are saying is some of the underlying athleticism might fail him, is that he just doesn't shoot his hips quick enough to get up there and to break up passes. I will say, though, he had 10 breakups on the year. It's difficult to judge him, man. He played decent competition. He's got decent underlying data. There are some physical limitations you can see on film at times. He can get beat deep, although it didn't happen a ton. It only happened a couple times on the season where he got beat deep, but in those couple of instances where he was beat deep, you could see that the body positioning just was not right. He did not stay in phase with the receiver. He did not play the ball in the air quite well. And then there were some times where on these little dunk plays, 3-4 yard plays, did a great job getting up there and tackling it and putting them in the second or third and long, but really didn't make any attempt to get up on the ball and play the ball in the air. So that's kind of what I saw from Mario Goodrich, guys. I definitely think, like I said, it's a long shot, but I like the underlying talent here. There's a reason why I brought him to the forefront back in March when I started watching his film, and I said, hey, I really like this dude. This dude can play, actually. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I mean, what do you think about Mario Goodrich? I know some of you guys think this guy's going to make the team. I'm not going to say he will or he won't make the team. Opportunity has to present itself. You can't predict what might happen in camp. You can't predict who might become a complete letdown. You can't predict injuries. There's so many things that can happen that can push a guy on or off a roster, right? So I can't predict those things. What I can say is that I think this is a young man as a priority free agent. He was worth the gamble that the Eagles are taking on him. I think that there is some underlying athleticism here, right? I mean, yes, he's not a deep speed guy, but he does fit what I think Gannon wants from a corner in this secondary. He does have some ability. When you talk about pattern matching, when you're talking about patterns, pattern recognition, those type of things, you are talking about guys that sometimes people see them and say, that dude could probably switch to safety. He probably has some of, he's not quite big. The frame's not big enough yet, guys. He's got to put some weight on there. But oftentimes those guys are looked at as guys who could potentially be switched from outside corner or a nickel corner out to safety if they have that ability to pattern recognize. I don't know, guys. We'll see. We'll see as time goes by. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much, guys. And I'll see y'all in the next video.